Guys, hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we're here with another review, and today we're going to be reviewing Hangman by Daniel Cole, the international bestseller of Ragdoll, Daniel Cole, which I will forever be reminded of because this isn't a sticker and it will just sit on this book for eternity. Thanks publishers. So what is Hangman by Daniel Cole about? Well, ironically, not actually about a hangman at all. This is the sequel to Ragdoll. It is the second in a proposed trilogy, I believe. It takes place 18 months after the events of that book, which were grisly, involved a series of grisly murders, basically, where it involved originally 6 victims that were cut up and sewn together into some sort of weird Frankenstein rag doll. They were made of rag doll, basically. And then the detective on the case has now gone missing because he's... spoilers for the last book, I guess. He's on the run. So the detective's on the run, and his partner, Emily Baxter, is now the main character of this book. So she is dragged into a series of copycat killings, which evolve into its whole new mess of international crime, and it all goes very off the rails plot-wise. So that is what Hangman is about. They find like a body hanging off a bridge that has similarities to the Ragdoll killings. So they bring Emily Baxter in, and it all goes downhill from there. So what is my opinions on Ragdoll? Not Ragdoll. You'll know my opinions on Ragdoll. There's a review for it up. My opinions on Hangman. I rated this book 5 stars, not because it's the best thing ever written, but because it ticks all the boxes for me personally enjoying a book. It has incredibly funny characters, it's got a very dry sense of humour, it's got over-the-top action thrillerness, it has weird things going on, it's got a lot of funny moments in there as well. And it was just a fun read, basically. It's not gonna like break your mind. You're not gonna be like, this is the greatest thing ever written by mankind, but it is a lot of fun. It would be the sort of perfect beach read if you are the sort of person who reads books on the beach. I know some people don't, because they don't like getting sand in them. So let's talk about, first of all, the story. As I said, it goes very, very off the rails as we go along. So basically we open the story up with Emily Baxter being approached by the FBI and the CIA. So already you know it's going to be pretty intense. So the FBI and the CIA, they're working together to figure out these crimes. Basically, a guy's been hung off a bridge with the word puppet carved into his chest, and then someone else has been hung up next to him with the word bait carved into his chest. And then these crimes happen in America, and then similar crimes begin happening in the UK. So it becomes this international sort of crime force as we're going through. From there, it really does escalate. There's a lot of twists and turns, a lot of which I didn't see coming. It had me guessing all the way through, and it really was just kind of a fun romp most of the time. The only criticism I would have, really, of the plot is that a lot of the time it felt kind of thin on the ground, actually, plot-wise. And we spent a lot of time with sort of inter-character conflict and subplots instead, which I didn't really mind, because if we move on to the next category, which is characters, these are some of my favourite characters in police procedural supercrime novels. I don't really know how to describe it. So it's all of that. So let's talk about, first of all, the main character, Baxter. Baxter was a secondary character in the first book, Ragdoll, because The main character in that was William Oscar Leighton Fawkes, otherwise known as Wolf, because why not? So he was the main character in that book, but because of events that happened in Ragdoll, he's now MIA. So Baxter steps up and takes control as being the lead character, and I was so happy to see that happen, because Wolf was kind of like a very bland carbon, like he's like a cardboard cutout, cliche hero. He's the exact sort of hero you would expect in a detective book. Like, he is determined to get his man, and he won't let the rules stand in his way. He's that kind of guy. He's a super genius, whatever, savant kind of guy. So fuck him. Get rid of him. I'm glad we got rid of him for this one, because Baxter is like, she's a super damaged human being, but in the most British way possible. And by that I mean she's messed up, but she's always glib and flippant in the face of horror. No matter what you throw at her, she'll get drunk and just make jokes about it, and she'll snark at people and be grumpy, and she's adorable, and I love her. Baxter. She's great as a hero. Very determined herself, but she stays within the rules, unlike certain other detectives. She does what's correct by her team, and she doesn't take shit off anyone, and that's great. There's no... And you know what? She's one of those female characters. She's not a strong female character trademark. She's not beating anyone up. She's regularly... in any sort of physical confrontation, she's not the best. It's implied that she's kind of out of shape because she drinks wine like by the bucket load. and fair enough. I mean, if you had to go through some of the things that happen in this book, you would also do all of the drink, probably, and you can't blame her for that. But she's getting help. She's gone to therapy as well. There's character traits there. There's development. But then, Baxter aside, we also have a lot of side characters that are really good. Edmonds is a character that I like. He's your kind of typical nerdy support staff guy. He's not actually working on the case in this book because he transferred out of homicide because it's all too much for him. But he still helps Baxter out because she's his best friend. But because he's not part of the team, he has to do his support stuff from a shed, which is a nice touch. So he does all of his support work from a shed, and his girlfriend isn't happy about it, which is great. I love the dynamics between Baxter and pretty much all the characters. You get the characters on the American side. The FBI agents are all very straight-faced, we're the FBI kind of guys, and there's a few machismo, fucking super gun squad guys. You've got a lot of the characters are very cliche, I'll be honest, but they're all presented through this lens of humour, where you can't take it too seriously, so it doesn't become a big deal that they're all sort of cardboard cut out. You're like, oh, I know where this character's from. This is straight from Central Casting. But the one that stands out that is not great is Roosh. There's an extended gag about how no one can pronounce his name correctly. For some reason, his name is spelled Rouche, which it's just douche, but with an R, right? So it's Roosh. One of the characters says it's like whoosh, which makes me, obviously, that solidifies that he's just douche. But he's a CIA operative. But I don't know if Daniel Cole researched what the CIA is, or maybe I don't know what the CIA really is, because, he just introduces himself as a policeman all the time. I don't think the CIA is just policemen. And he works on his own. The rest of the CIA isn't really involved ever. and he just works with the FBI on this case. I don't know why. He's there. He doesn't really do anything CIA-like at all. But he's got some weird, distressing backstory. Most of the characters have some sort of backstory. His is the most tragic background. But there's like a whole thing. There's a subplot involving him being like cagey and mysterious, which didn't really end up being that relevant. It was like fine. I don't know why it had to be a big secret. but okay, whatever, that's fine. Overall, really enjoyed this book. It's a fun read, as I say. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to change the world. It's just a police thriller where things go boom, bodies hit the floor, and shit goes down. And it was fun. I read it in like 2 days. I can't wait for the next one. The next one's going to be pretty dope. Daniel Cole says in an interview in the back of this one that it's the last in his planned trilogy, the next one. So that's fine. But he also hinted that there might be more. I'm actually like content with it being a trilogy because like you have this trend with a lot of these kind of thrillers and procedural thrillers like this where it's like a self-contained story and it just goes on and on forever. Like the Jack Reacher books by Lee Child, for example, there must be like 600 million thousand Jack Reacher books now, and it just shows no sign of ending. You know, it's like the James Patterson syndrome. There's 1,000,001 James Patterson books. I would be happy for there to be a nice conclusion to the Ragdoll trilogy, and I can just have that and not have to continuously buy every year. But really good fun. 5 stars from me. Probably won't be 5 stars from everyone, but I really enjoyed it. It tickled that itch in the back of my mind for a 24-star city thriller. And that's it, really. We'll move on next week. Well, not even next week. On Wednesday, we're going to be doing another review. And this time, it's going to be a bit more witchery. See you then.